Today we will talk about the genetic terminology. What are the important terms which are generally used in genetics? First, what do you mean by genetics? What do you mean by genetics? So the important terms which are commonly used in genetics are: what is genetics, what is clone, what is trait, what is gene, allele, gene symbol, gene locus, phenotype and genotype. We'll discuss them one by one. First, this genetics, the term genetics is given by William Batson. It is given by William Batson. What do you mean by genetics? The term genetics is given by William Batson. It is derived from the Greek word genesis, means beginning or origin of something. So we can say that genetics is the branch of biology that deals with the study of genes, hereditary and variation. This genetics, it is derived from the Greek word genesis. This genesis means descent or beginning, your creation of something. It means beginning or creation of something. Now what do you mean by genetics? It is simply the study of, genetics is the study of genes, hereditary and variation. Study of genes, hereditary and variation. It is simply the study of genes, hereditary and variation. We know that how we can define the gene, what is heredity and what is variation. See, we have this an organism. We have an organism. We have an organism, and this organism, it is composed of cells. It is composed of cells. Thousands and millions of cells are present in it. This is an individual. It's composed of cells. So this is, you can see that cell. It's composed of cells. Cell, and we know that this cell, this is the cytoplasm and this is the nucleus. This nucleus contains what? It contains chromosomes. Nucleus contains the chromosomes. So this is nucleus, and this nucleus, it contains the chromosomes. These are chromosomes. These are simply the chromosomes. This chromosome contains what? It contains genetic material, DNA. It contains genetic material, that is DNA. So we can say that this is chromosome, and this chromosome, it contains what? It contains the genetic material, what is known as, it contains the genetic material. This is DNA which is present in it. The nitrogen bases which are present in DNA. nitrogenous bases which are present in DNA. So this is what is called as DNA. So this can be, for example, gene. So what do you mean by gene? Gene is simply the unit of inheritance, or we can say that it is the segment of DNA. It is the segment of DNA. This gene, it is the segment of DNA. These are hereditary determinants, what are called as gene. It is the segment of DNA, and these are hereditary determinants, a unit of inheritance. These are hereditary determinants, or it is a unit of inheritance. That means this gene, it controls the inheritance, it controls the traits in a living organism. It is a unit of inheritance. That means it is transmitted from parents to offspring, from one generation to another generation, and then it controls the traits in an organism. This is what is called as hereditary determinants, or it is a unit of inheritance. Then this is individual. It is made up of cells. These cells have got nucleus and chromosomes. This chromosome, it contains the DNA. This is DNA. The DNA molecule. Then this is DNA, and this DNA, it contains what? Genes. Actually, a particular segment of a DNA which codes for a polypeptide, it is called as gene, or which controls the trait, it is called as gene. So we can say that this is the segment of DNA. The genes are hereditary determinants. That is, it is a unit of inheritance which determines the biological trait of an organism. So that is what is called as gene. Then we have got another term. This is what is heredity. Hereditary. What is heredity? It is also called as inheritance. Inheritance. Heredity is simply the transmission of characters from parents to offspring. That is known as heredity or inheritance. Or simply we can say that the passing of biological traits, the passing of genetic traits from parents to offspring, from one generation to another generation, that is called as heredity. So it is simply the transmission of genetic traits from parents to offsprings. The characters which are transmitted from parents to offsprings, they constitute the heredity or inheritance, or what is called as heredity. Transmission of genetic traits from parents to offsprings. We say that there's a term that is called like baguettes like. That means by and large the offsprings which are produced by the parents, they are a little bit similar to their parents. This is what is called as like baguettes like. Although there is some variation also, but by and large, to some extent, generally the offspring, they resemble to their parents. So what is called as like baguettes like. So this is because of the inheritance, this is because of the heredity, that the children of the parents, they look similar to their parents. It is because of the heredity, or it is because of the inheritance. So for example, we have got this. So we have got this, for example, these are parents. This is one parent. These are parents. This is parent. Male parent. This is female parent. This is female parent. These are the offsprings. This symbol, it represents the male parent. This represents the female parent. These are the offsprings. These are offsprings. That means the characters, your traits are transmitted from parents to offsprings. This is what is called as heredity or inheritance. That means they have parents, they pass on, they transmit their characters to the offsprings. This is what is called as inheritance or heredity. The transmission of characters from parents to offsprings is known as heredity or inheritance. Then we have got, although the children are a little bit similar to their parents, they are also different from their parents, and this difference is known as variation. So what do you mean by variation? Variation is simply the differences shown by the offsprings of the same parent. That is known as variation. Represent it like this. What do you mean by variation? What is variation? Variation simply means the differences or dissimilarities which are shown by the offsprings of the same parent. We know that these offsprings, they are similar to their parents, but at the same time there are certain dissimilarities or differences that exist between the offsprings and their parents, and this difference, this dissimilarity between the offsprings and parents is known as variation. So variation is differences between offsprings of same parent. Or we can say that what is variation? If we will take a population, in that population we have got number of individuals, so there is dissimilarity between the individuals in a population. That is also known as variation. So dissimilarities that exist between the individuals of the same population, that is known as dissimilarities amongst individuals of same population, that is known as, that is what is known as variation. So variation, we can say that these are the differences, dissimilarities that exist between the offsprings of the same parent. Or if we take a population, in that population we have large number of individuals. These individuals are a little bit different from each other, so we call it variation. So for example, this is if we take a population of humans, if we take a population of humans, find that there is variation. For example, these are individuals of the same population, but they are different. These are the individuals of the same population, but they are different. So these are individuals. These are individuals. This is human population. Human population. Here, these are individuals. Population. These are individuals. These individuals are different from each other. This is what is called as variation. So this has this type of body structure, this type of structure, this has this type of structure, this has this type of observable structures. So these are different, dissimilar from each other, so we say that this is a variation. Or also, if we take this here, the offsprings which are produced here, they are not exactly similar to their parents. So the difference is these offsprings are different from their parents, so we call it variation. Then we have got another term. What is clone? What is clone? Clone, these are number of identical. We can say that it is a broader term. What is clone? Clone is an organism that is genetically identical to its parent. So we have got this. Clone is an organism which is genetically identical to its parent. Clone is an organism that is genetically identical to its parent. For example, in case of plants, we have this type of plant. So what would be its clones? They would be all identical. So these are clones. This is parent. That means these plants are identical to its parent. They are genetically similar to its parent, so they are also called as clones. or we can say that this is the clone. It is a broader term. If number of identical molecules, they also constitute the clone. For example, we have a number of identical molecules, they also constitute the clone. So we have got number of identical molecules. We have got, for example, genes. It is called as DNA. These are identical DNA molecules. They are also clones. They have got same base sequence. They have got what are same base sequence. This is also clone. Or we can say that cells, for example, the cells. So number of identical cells, they are also clones. So what do you mean by clone? Clones are derived from the common ancestor. So clones are derived from the common ancestor. Clones are the organisms which are genetically similar to their parents, or we can say that a clone is defined as the number of identical molecules, number of identical cells, or number of identical individuals. That is what is called as clones. So we have got here individuals. These individuals are genetically identical to their parent as well as to each other. They constitute the clone. We have got molecules. Molecules can also be clones if we have number of molecules which are identical to each other. For example, we have 3 DNA molecules which have same base sequence. They also constitute the clone. So we can say that there are 3 genes which are clones. They have same base sequence. Or cells, when we have got identical cells which are derived from the common ancestor, they also constitute the clone. Then we have got trait. What is trait? Trait is simply technically trait is a inherited character. We can say that it is an inherited character. For example, we say that what is trait, or we can say that trait is simply a character. It is a biological character. For example, we say that stem height, it is a trait. We say that eye color, it is a trait. Or we can say trait is simply a character which is present in an organism. Or we can say that it is a biological character present in an organism which is being controlled by the genes. We say that it is a trait. For example, stem height, it is a trait. Eye color, it is a trait. Or we can say this shape of seeds, it is a trait. Color of flower, it is a trait. Or hair color, in case of humans, it is a trait. So what is trait? Trait is simply the biological character which is present in an individual. It is a trait. This trait is actually controlled by the genes. So we discussed what is genetics, what is clone, what is trait. Next we will discuss what is gene, allele and gene simple. Thanks.